Okay, so this will be most likely the last class of this chapter, not this chapter, rather this topic of the eye. Uh, but yeah, there are quite a few small topics in it. So the first one that we are going to look at after looking at the structures is how do we see things. It happens in 4 stages, and most of you know it. But yeah, we'll just quickly go over it through as a process. So first thing is the entry of light rays. Now, most obvious question that has been coming in the test is the sequence of these like structures through which the light passes. So obviously conjunctiva is the outermost. Light will enter first through conjunctiva, then cornea, then aqueous humor or aqueous cavity, lens, and the vitreous cavity, and then what comes is the retina. So that's like a path of light in the eye structure. The second stage is the focusing the image. So in this case, specifically the curvature of the cornea, it will converge the light rays. So cornea itself is a little transparent, and the outside structure, outside to lens, it will converge the light rays a bit, and then the lens will be the second one, which will further converge the light to make that focal point on the retina. So that's a brief about this focusing the image. And most important point here is the image on the retina is inverted and real. Now I assume that you would have studied this in the physics optics part. What is inverted, what is real, what is upright and virtual, and so on, right? So I'm not going to talk about it, but just to let you know that the image that is formed on the retina is always inverted, and it is a real image. Now, the third step is the most important one. So, what happens there is uh, every like photon or every part of the sunlight, or rather the light energy, has certain amount of energy, right? So that will be taken by these pigments called as rhodopsin and iodopsin. They will induce certain chemical changes into the cells of the rod cells or cone cells. That electrical impulse, or they will generate the electrical impulse. That electrical impulse will be traveled with the neurons which are neighboring to these rod cells and cone cells, and then it will go via the optic nerve to the brain. Yeah, yeah. So that is the whole process. So in short, light will induce the pigment will generate a chemical change, and it will create the electrical signal out of that chemical energy. It will be transferred to the neurons, and that neuron will take that signal via the optic nerve to the brain. And then the fourth step is the brain will interpret that signal. And of course, whatever is this like type of signal, brain has its processing mechanisms. So the incoming neuronal signal will be processed, and what you see at the end is the image of whatever that person is being able to see. So that is in short mechanism of how do we see things. So 4 stages. First is entry of light, focusing of the image. Then the third is the nerve impulse that is being produced in the retina to transmit it to the brain, and then interpretation by the brain. So that's it in how do we see things. If anyone has any question, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll move forward. Yeah, I'll tell it to you after the class. Is that okay? Yeah. Because this is not related to the next topic. Uh, the next part is the accommodation of the lens. Now, this again we have already seen it to quite some extent. So I won't be going through each of these points, but the process of focusing an eye, or both the eyes rather, to see an object at distance, at different distance rather, whether it's close or farther, that is called as accommodation. So for example, if something is a little farther, what you do is you try to squint your eyes a bit, like you look through by kind of constricting the whole of the eye structure. That is there because you want to change the shape of the lens so that you get a better vision. And same is the case with if the object is somewhere close by. And this particular change is happening with the help of ciliary muscles. Whether they extend the lens, if they are contracted, they will pull the lens away. So lens will become more flat, and if they are kind of relaxed, the ciliary muscles, the lens will become more stout. So that is what is called as accommodation of the lens. So I'm not going to talk much about it because this we have already covered, and plus we'll cover it in the myopia and hyperopia type of defects. But yes, if you have any questions specific to this, please feel free to ask. So that is the accommodation of the lens. In short, it is adjusting the eyes or the lens structure to observe a particular object, whether at close or at distance, uh, to be visible, like to visualize it very clearly. Now this is just a quick example of the same. So if you see, uh, if the object is at distance, usually the lens is kind of stretched because you want more and more signal from that object to come to your eyesight. So your lens is kind of stretched, so it is like it's extended, and that's when the ciliary muscles, they are contracted. So once they contract, the lens ultimately gets stretched, and then the image will fall on the retina. And on contrary, if the object is closer, you try to make your lens more stout. So that's when the these muscle fibers, they are relaxed, uh, rather the slack fibers, or the what we call as suspensory ligaments, they are relaxed, and that's how the image will be formed on the retina. So that was this accommodation of the lens. Same things are being explained here, so I'm not going to talk here. There is a video that you can watch on your own, which talks about the power of accommodation of the eyes, and then it also talks of the ciliary muscles, what happens to them in different situations. So that is what is given here. Now, one of the very interesting phenomena that happens with our eyes, and I'm sure everyone would have noticed it sometime, is the light and dark adaptation. So, like, let's say if you are traveling from, not traveling in the sense, if you are moving from a very bright area to suddenly a dark area, what you experience for a moment is the vision is kind of blurred, or you see a difficulty in visualizing the object if that is immediate transition from bright to dark area. And that is what is called as dark adaptation. Now why does that happen? It happens due to the regeneration of the pigment that is present in the rod cells, visual purple or rhodopsin, and because like which was broken down due to the bright light. So whenever there is too much of bright light, this pigment will be broken down, and like you need within the dim light, you need this rhodopsin pigment to see object, right? And that is when, if this pigment is broken in the sense, it just some bonds are broken due to the intensity of the light, and to get them back to their original structure, or what we call as regeneration of the pigment, it will take a fraction of second. For some people it can be 1 or 2 seconds, but for some it just fraction of second. And that's what will that will be the time during which you will not be able to see any object clearly. So that particular phenomena is called as dark adaptation. And usually dark adaptation occurs due to the dilation of pupil, permitting more light to enter the eyes. So and because of which the pigments get kind of bleached, or pigment gets kind of broken, and that's what regeneration has to happen. So that is dark adaptation. Similarly, on contrary, if you move from dark area to bright area, there also something like this happen, because you are moving to light or bright area. It is called as light adaptation, and there is again a kind of blurred vision or no vision for a very short period of seconds. And it again occurs due to the visual purple when it is bleached. And it will reduce its sensitivity, because there is a sudden surge of this bright light that comes to your eyesight. And because you see in the dark your pupil is dilated to get more and more signal. So the moment when the pupil is dilated and you move to a bright area, all of that light that is coming to your eyes is entering your eyes. It doesn't wait for you to move out and then you constrict your pupil. No, the rays will directly enter the eyesight, and that will cause bleaching, which will reduce the sensitivity of these pigments, and that is why the light adaptation also happens. So these are the two phenomena which are again most important with respect to the eye structure, that is light and dark adaptation. Does anyone have any question? Is it now? This is just the kind of diagram to show you what exactly happens in dim light and bright light. Uh, Ideally, I should have put this earlier, but then uh, it's here for whatsoever reason. So, so if you see in dim light, the pupil is dilated, and here also that is a representation of this. The radial muscles, they are contracted. The one another diagram that I had shown you yesterday, or I don't know, earlier class, that also showed same thing, but this is better representation of this pupil dilation as well as contraction. So radial muscles, they will contract, and that will cause the dilation of the pupil. On the contrary, when the circular muscles they contract, that will cause the contraction of the pupil, and that's when the bright light will enter to a very less extent. So that is what this diagram wants to say out of it. Now, there is something called as color vision that you have already seen, but a specific fact that we have not seen is the types of cone cells. Again, I don't want to go much into details of this because I'm not sure if this part is within the syllabus or not in the syllabus. But I just thought this will be important to know that there are different types of cone cells. So usually there are three different types of cone cells that what we know of. You must have studied that rainbow spectrum, or what we call as Vibgyor, from violet to red type of color, and that is because of the certain wavelength that they absorb or reflect. So based on that, there are three segments, what we call as red segment or red light, that the middle portion is the green light, and the blue segment or violet. So depending on their ability, so they have certain wavelengths. So obviously, depending on their wavelength, they have certain amount of energy as well. And that way, depending on what is the energy content, they will excite that pigment to some extent. If it is more energy, more excitation of the pigment, and if it is less energy, less excitation of the pigment. So that way, these three different types of cells, they do exist. They are also sometimes called as red type of cone cell, green type of cone cells, and blue violet or blue type of cone cells, in short. So that is specifically based on the type of wavelength that they absorb, based on the pigment that is present. So that is just a short introduction about the color vision specifically with respect to the type of cone cells. Uh, and that's most of the structural as well as functional aspect. Now, what we are coming as a last topic is the common defects of the eye. So, with respect to the common defects, the most common that we see around is the spectacled people. That is, most of them, out of those wearing spectacles, they are myopic people. That means they have a defect called as myopia, which is short sightedness, or what we also call as near sightedness. So in myopia, the near objects, that is the objects that are very close as in within a certain range, they can be seen clearly, but the distant objects, they cannot be seen clearly. And why does that happen? That is what the image speaks of. So this is the upper eye is shown as myopia condition, So when the light rays they enter, because of the specific condition of the lens, we will see that in the next point. So because of the specific changes in the lens structure, the image that is formed, that is the focal point of this light rays, it is in front of the retina, it is before the retina, that is within the vitreous chamber, and that is why the image whatever is formed on the retina is blurred. You don't see a clear image. If the focal point is on the retina, then only we see a clear image. If it is not, obviously we will not see a clear image.
Arjun,
Yes.
So when when you have trouble seeing clearly, there are two kinds of that, right? You can't see things that are close and you can't see things that are far, right? So what exactly is the difference, like, in when the eye is like damaged or does the problem occurs?
So are you talking about a condition where both the things are not seen at all clearly?
Yeah, that too. But like, what exactly is the difference when you can't see things that are further away and when you can't see things that are closer to you? Like, what exactly is the difference, like, in the eye?
Yeah. So that is the next situation. Are you talking about this, Janvi?
Yeah, okay, I'll get to that after you finish this.
Okay. So I didn't get the clear question, so I am still wondering. But yeah, let me finish this and then we talk about. So why does this myopia occur? Is because that eyeball is lengthened. Eyeball is lengthened in the sense the front to back, that part is lengthened. That means it's kind of squeezing that spherical structure from top to bottom, and that's why it is lengthened. And because of the same reason, the lens become too curved. It's simple thing. If the lens is like vertical and if you are pressing it from top to bottom, it's obviously going to become more curved. And because of that curvature, the focal point, which would have been ideally on the retina, it changes and it comes in the vitreous cavity, or rather within the in front of retinal structure. So then how does the concave lens work? Because it's inside, the eye structure is from the inside. So that is when we use the diverging lens, that is the concave lens. So it will diverge the light rays and then it will again bring back. So the focal point is adjusted. But then the lens from the eye, which is already concave, and it brings it back again into the same position where it was without it. No, I didn't get it. So what is the point of having not concave lens? It diverges the rays, no? So the point is, if the distance, what we call as the, what we call this, perpendicular or normal, you call it, no? So from the normal, if the focal point is at certain point, that is the ability of the lens structure, how much it is able to either converge or diverge, right? In both the cases, you get certain focal point. So just to adjust that focal point, you use the concave lens. Yeah. So in this case specifically, this is like a biconcave lens, which will diverge the light rays. So if they are coming straight, they are going away as in from the principal axis, they are going away. And because of the lens structure, they will again merge at a point. So that is why it is called as diverging lens. And that usually helps in getting the image right. So like again, if you have these glasses, most of you, like I said, will have this myopic type of defect in your eye. And usually the power of glasses is mentioned in minus. I again forgot what was this about. Yesterday's class itself I was supposed to check. I don't know. Yeah, so like we usually say -1, -0.5, -3, or whatsoever number it is. So I think concave lens power is measured in minus. Concave lens power is measured in. No, but why minus? That is my question.
Why minus is because suppose the focal point is the retina, right? And uske agar left mein jata hai, then it becomes minus if the focal point changes towards the left of the initial focal point.
No, but why minus? Why? What it has to do with the?
If it changes, see, go to the next slide. See, यहाँ पर the focal point is पीछे. It was the right of the retina, right?
Oh, you are relating it to the axis wala.
Yes. Yes.
Fine. No, but this has some other reason. So it has something to do with the what we call as power of the glasses. What is it exactly?
Power of the lens. Power of the lens.
Yeah, but anyway, like I don't remember, but surely it's not.
It's convex.
So, miss, okay, anyway, let me just leave that part why it is minus or plus, because I honestly don't remember. But there is a little more than what you are saying. It's not just that it is right side or left side of the axis, and that's why it is positive or negative. It surely has something to do with the power of the lens itself. It's something corrective power and stuff like that. I'll get back to you on that, because I myself want to know. I have forgotten it now. So that is the myopic situation where you use concave lens, which is a diverging lens. So again, a type of questions that these which are being asked in this is where is the image formed in the myopic eyes or myopic defects, and what type of lens can be used? How does it help? What are the reasons for myopia? So all these questions can be asked from this. And exactly similar to this is the hyperopia, which is farsightedness, or what we call as long-sightedness. It is also called as hypermetropia. It is actually difficulty in seeing the near objects. So you can see the things at distance, but you cannot see the objects which are near. And again, why does this happen? Is because of the squeezing of the eyeball from front to back, and that's when the lens get kind of stretched, so it becomes more thinner, and you use a convex lens, or what we call as converging lens. And because of this converging lens, it will bring the light rays closer, and it will further converge it at the focal point. And the specific case is the image is formed beyond the retina. Now again, this is not that image is formed beyond the retina. These are the imaginary point. Like focal point is not always real. It can be virtual in some cases. So that is.
Is that when the light speeds reach that point?
No, they cannot reach. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying that they reach the.
So they just reach up to this level, but the focal point is beyond the retina. That is what this diagram wants to say. And that is when you don't see the objects clear. So to get it back, you use this convex lens, and then you adjust the focal point. Yeah, so that's about the hyperopia and myopia. Now coming back to Janvi, was your question answered in this, or?
Yeah, it was. Thanks.
Okay. Also, yeah, one more thing that which I mentioned earlier, like there will be some people who will have both of these defects. They have myopic eyes as well as they have hyperopia type of defect. So in those cases, it mostly happens with the old people. You would see that they have two different kinds of glasses. They have a big glass, and within that they have a small glass below it. So the big glass is usually for distant objects, and the small part of that glass at the bottom is usually for the near vision. So that is how like both of these defects in one single eye can be cured.
What about instead of glasses, we wear what? Those
Lens.
Yeah, that's what.
Same.
Right?
Yeah, they also, it's a property of a lens to adjust the focal point, right? So whether you wear as a glasses or you put them over your eyes as a lens, they'll behave the same way. They'll do the function of diverging or converging depending on what type of lens is being used. Okay, so the another defect is the astigmatism. In this is the defect in which some parts of the objects they are seen in focus while the others are blurred. So if you are looking at a certain image, only a part of the image at one particular point you see it very clearly, and the rest of the image appears blurred in one side. Like let's say for example, if you are looking at the screen now, the right corner of your screen you are being able to see it very clearly, but the left part it is not being visible, or it is blurred. So that type of disorder is called as astigmatism, and this usually happens due to the uneven curvatures of the cornea. And again, why does that happen? Like let's say if we have what we call as dry eyes or irritation in the eyes. So whenever there is less of aqueous humor or less of tear production, or less of lubrication overall in the eye structure, that causes damage to the cornea, and then cornea, which is ideally a even and uniform surface, it becomes kind of uneven, or it might like some cells within the cornea might get damaged, that also cause it uneven surface, and because of which this astigmatism can happen. And it is usually corrected by the cylindrical lenses. Cylindrical lenses, these are like literally those thick lenses that you would have seen with some, especially with the children, you would have seen it. You have thick lenses? No? No. So these are those really, really thick lenses, and they are called as cylindrical lenses. And that is how you cure the astigmatism type of defect. Then presbyopia, again this is situation which is similar to the one of the earlier seen one. So this specifically affects the older people who cannot see the near objects clearly. Near objects they cannot see clearly. That means this situation is like hyperopia, difficulty in seeing near objects, right? But the specific condition is related to the age of a person, and that is what is called as presbyopia. So happens.
Presbyopia can only happen in older people, and hyperopia can happen in infants.
Yeah. So their lenses, they lose the flexibility, resulting in a kind of farsightedness. Right? It's obvious, like over the time, when the eyes they have been used quite often, like at the old ages, then these lens they tend to lose their flexibility, and that's when they are not able to contract or relax at any given point, and that's how this kind of disorder occurs in the presbyopia. And similar to farsightedness or hyperopia, like we had seen, this can also be cured by using a convex lens. Cataract, most of you would know, or at least would have heard of it. It's a simple kind of what we say opaque layer forming in front of the eye structure. So the lens will turn opaque and the vision is down. It can even lead to total blindness, but that's like an extreme situation. A usual thing that is done to correct cataract is the surgical means. So removing the lens either completely or just removing the layer over the lens. So if it is like if the cataract is due to the some cellular growth or some debris that is stuck in front of the lens, then you just take it out from there. But otherwise, if it is lens itself is affected, then usually lenses they are removed from the eye structure, and then the glasses or spectacles they are being used, and again depending on the situation those spectacles are used. In some of the cases, smaller plastic lens is also implanted behind in the sense around the iris structure, either on the surface of iris or just behind the iris like a regular lens. But the problem with this is sometimes the irritation to the eyes or compatibility of these materials and so on. It's not literally plastic that you know of. This plastic is of surgical grade. So that surely is being taken care, but it's also transparent and so on. But still that has different side effects as well. So that is cataract. I hope you people don't have any question. I'm kind of just rushing through it because these are pretty simple topics that way. Then night blindness. Now this is a very specific condition in which a person has difficulty in seeing objects at night or in the dim light. And this is very specific. Like it is a, what we say, related to the rhodopsin pigment in the rod cells. It's either the rod cells are less, or the rhodopsin pigment formation is less, or it is some genetic reason, or the eye structure has not developed properly. Any of these reasons can lead to the night blindness. Now, we know that only rods functions in dim light or at night, and in absence of these rod cells, obviously the eyes won't be able to see at the night time. And this, most of the time, this is due to the deficiency of vitamin A, which is required for the synthesis of this rhodopsin pigment. Now, if we don't have vitamin A, we will have less of rhodopsin, so ultimately rod cells will not be more functional, so you will have problems of night blindness. So that is when most of the adults, they keep saying, no, eat radish, eat carrot, eat this and that, is because of this thing. Then color blindness, which we have already seen to some extent while we are looking at the genetics. So it is congenitally, some people cannot differentiate between red and green color. Congenitally means since birth. So the situation has occurred since the birth time. There is a difference between genetically or hereditary and congenitally. Hereditary means it has been going on throughout the generations, but congenitally means it was not hereditary, but it started with the birth of the child. So that is congenital disease or disorder. So this is like a kind of, it can be congenital, so that some people cannot differentiate between red and green color. So I'm sure we will have at least 3 to 4 people amongst us who cannot differentiate between the red and green color. One I know for sure is Srinidhi. He has color blindness.
So was it right?
I mean, that's the ideal situation.
Srinidhi
But
hasn't Srinidhi sir, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And this is X-linked chromosome genetic defect, and which is more common in males than in female. Again, the reason being, it's affecting X chromosome, and males have only one X chromosome. If that is affected, obviously the male will show color blindness phenomena. But in case of female, until and unless both the chromosomes they are affected, it will not be visible. So it is like kind of X-linked recessive disorder, right? Both the alleles has to be affected to exhibit the phenomena in female, but in male one is affected, that will still show this color blindness thing. Then squint. Now squint is like, simply in a very simpler language, if I explain, like a person is looking at one particular point, but the eyeballs, they are pointing in different directions. That is what is squint. So the eyeballs, they are looking at something else, they are not looking at something else, they are observed to be looking at something else, but the person is looking at some other place. That is called as squint. So two eyes, they somewhat converge, leading to what is called as cross eye. Converge, that means the eyeballs, they are pointing towards the center, but the eyes, they are looking at outside. And opposite condition is when the eyeballs or eyes, they are diverging, but a person is looking at the center, towards the center. So that is wide eye. So there are like cross eye squint and wide eye squint, depending on where the eyes are pointed at. And both of these conditions, they may cause double vision, or what is also called as diplopia. That is because of the like the structure within the eyes, which have either developed wrongly, or over the time it has reached this stage.
So you see two of
Huh?
So you see two of
But not always. That is still like there is quite a lot of description to it.
Is it possible for us to get volunteer? You can make eyes volunteer.
No. No, no, you can't move the, it's the innate ability of the eye to point at something, and look at somewhere. That's a like you can look through the corner of the eyes, but that's a different thing. Okay, and usually these squint type of conditions, they can be cured with the surgery or suitable eye exercises. Eye exercises is like you usually keep them, hold it to right for 10 seconds, hold it to left for 10 seconds, up for 10 seconds, and so on, like, and then you move circular, then you move up, down, or side to side. So there are various such exercises which can be done. Surgical procedure, they're mostly laser based. So if the eye structures are not weak, they can be done. If the eyes are weak, even they cannot be done. So that is like a squint. Yeah, that's it. That's all about this whole of the eye thing. Now if you have any questions, you can ask, otherwise we will stop for this term.
Yes.
Thank God, bach gaye. Yes, Nandan.
I remember reading somewhere that color blindness tends to pass on from father to daughter more than
Correct.
father to son. Is that right?
If the father is already affected, right, and a mother is a carrier, there is likely a chance that mother will pass on that carrier allele to the daughter. Father will pass on the affected allele to the daughter, so daughter can also get affected.
How sad.
So one of the daughters will be affected.
One of the daughter as in,
So like if you do the Pulitzer thing,
yeah, but in human the possibility of,
yeah.
did you get that, Nandan?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else has any other question?